Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim HaKodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us his truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful like this out there, listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. So this memorandum just came out yesterday, right? Today's the 23rd. Yesterday was June 22nd. The title of this says, Ushering in the Next Frontier of Quantum Innovation. Okay? So I made a mention of, a breakthrough that happened about a year ago with quantum computers, in a video I made about a year ago, and basically, and y'all can search my channel, but, basically the point being, I mentioned that old video that, this could definitely go together with AI. And ultimately, these quantum computers are way faster than a regular classical computer, man. Okay? And these quantum computing, the quantum computing and quantum computers and quantum processing units or quantum computer chips, they're going to have a hand together with that AI in the NWO, okay, in this surveillance state that's getting set up, okay, all these flock cameras and, the MOTB beast system where they're going to have that RFID chip in everybody, or the brain computer interface in their brain, okay, that's, for that surveillance, for the elites to be able to control and see where everybody is at all times and what they're doing and track you throughout businesses, track your transactions and track where you go and what you do and where you're driving and how you're driving, and everything's going to be connected back to you. Okay. Well, that's a lot of data. Okay. And these modern computers, they just can't handle it, man. That's why they're building all these data centers that are miles large, depleting the Earth's resources because they're using classical computer chips, or what we call GPUs, graphics processing units, I believe it stands for. GPUs, that's what, that's the same thing in your PlayStation 5, right? Yeah, graphics processing unit. It's a specialized electronic circuit designed to rapidly process and manipulate memory to accelerate the creation of images, video, rendering, and deep learning models, right? Like AI, okay? And don't get me wrong, these are good. They're better than this old school CPUs that the computers used. But there's a new thing, what's relatively new, it's called quantum computing, okay? And it looks like they're going to be implementing this quantum computing with GPUs in this system in order to manipulate these gigantic data sets, because they're collecting a lot of data from you people. Okay, so I'm going to show you this video for those of you that don't know real quick before we go into the memorandum, what the difference is between a classical computer and a quantum computer. All right, this is fair use for educational purposes only.
And the difference between a classical... What? Today, let's understand the difference between a classical computer versus a quantum computer. Classical computer are, for example, your laptop or your smartphone. Works with bits, tiny switched that process information. Each processor contains millions of bits working in sequence to produce a result. One simple letter can be represented by many bits. But even if they operated very fast, these bits are limited by how many operations they can do. It's the physical limits of computers. Quantum computers, on the other hand, use qubits. They harness the property of the atom and are not bound to the same physical restrictions as bits. Qubits can be either on or off, but they can also be both at the same time. Even if they are very fast, classical computers have to do one operation at the time, one after the other. While quantum computers can run several operations at the same time. Why is it important? Well, one example can be if you ask your GPS the shortest way home. You computer need to compare all of the different roads one after the other. While quantum computers can do all of them at the same time. It's just like comparing candles and light bulbs. Yes, both are used for the same function, but one is just way more capable than the other. It's like having 6 hands instead of 2. It's faster to do anything. And it's faster in ways a classical computer will never be able to compare. Today,
You see, it's like having 6 hands instead of 2. Okay, and I went into it, it's like, just think about like when you're processing data, man, not to get too technical. They've had certain problems with certain AI models using classical computers, just regular old school, like the ones we're using now. And it would take what they said hundreds of thousands of years to solve that problem. So basically, it can never get solved with a regular computer because there's just too much data, you know. But with a quantum computer, they said it only took seconds because it looks at all possibilities at the same time and it calculates them all at the same time. Whereas, like it said in the video, the regular ones we use now, the regular AI, it looks at every single possibility one step at a time. And it wastes a lot of energy doing that, man. That's why they're, destroying the world. And I'm not saying that this is the fix for that, because what is the fundamental problem is the wrong people are in rulership. The Edomites, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, pursuing of Malachi 1 and 4, is the wicked, which we know according to the book of Job in the scriptures, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So for this season, the Lord has allowed these devils to rule. And, just think about all the positive things that could be done with a quantum computer. But reading this memorandum, we'll go into it. All right. A lot of this is about war and competition. You see, that's how these Edomites think, man. Instead of looking at free energy and ways to actually solve real problems, it's all about, who can get the most money, who can beat the other country and have more dominance and use it for war and shit like that. Showing you this man is the devil. But, not to get too deep into that. We all know Esau, Edom is the devil. But we want to go into this memorandum and, just kind of go into section 1, which is the purpose. Okay, it says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. America stands at the cusp of a quantum revolution. Quantum information, science, and technology, QUIST, will provide transformational capabilities that will drive American innovation, power economic growth, generate high-paying jobs, and bolster national security. All right, so the first part I want to focus on is on American innovation. Okay, and let me just underline that real quick. Okay, let's get this innovation. Just a quick definition real quick. Innovation is the process of translating a new idea or invention into a good, service, or method that creates value for society or drives commercial success. It goes beyond mere creativity by taking a novel concept for inception to practical real-world application. Okay, because they're going to be processing a lot of this data. Okay, that's going to help them make better decisions, as well, which that's one of the main things they're going to use it for. You could just think about how they're going to use it with these flock cameras, man, which I'm going to go into that a little bit later. But just think about all the millions of license plates they collect and, these different cameras that are everywhere. They're always watching. That's a whole lot of data. Well, they're going to use all that data, and with those quantum computers and AI, they're going to be able to make real-time predictions and stuff like that, which goes into, I know brothers brought it out, where eventually they're going to want to implement, AI as a judge, like that one movie, Mercy. Y'all brothers have seen Mercy. It uses AI, basically to predict whether or not you're guilty, for lack of a better word. Just roughly paraphrasing what I remember from the movie. And, you're basically guilty until proven innocent, and there's no way to know how this thing is going to be collecting all this data, but it's going to be, to such a high extent, just like people trust AI now for damn near everything. Well, people aren't going to question quantum AI if it says that, you likely committed this crime because, well, we looked through all your records, and quantum suspects that, that you committed this crime because XYZ, and because these things are always watching you, man. All right. All this data that's coming from your phone, what you're on, what videos you're scrolling, where you're driving to in the middle of the night, what restaurant you stopped at, the conversations that are being overheard, because there's microphones out here too, man, on the streets. All that is getting fed through these data centers, man. But the thing with these data centers is they don't have the raw power to really like look at everybody at once. Well, with this quantum, it's going to have the raw power to do it now. Okay, because like that video said, a quantum computer looks at all possibilities at once. Whereas a regular computer has to go one by one by one by one by one by one. You can't do that with everybody on the earth. There's 8 billion people. All right, so it continues. Power economic growth, generate high-paying jobs, and bolster national security. In 2018, I laid the foundation for the United States leadership in QUIST by signing into law the National Quantum Initiative Act and doubling federal investments in QUIST research and development. Right, in 2018, and they did make some breakthroughs, which I brought out a year ago in that old video. And I even mentioned it there, man. Hey, they're going to be building data centers with the, what was that? The Stargate project, right? When I was going into that, I said, that they were likely going to use a combination of GPUs and QPUs, quantum processing units, man. All right, to really give the system the full advantage in order to achieve their enterprise, man. Because we know, according to the scriptures, they do want to have a chip in everybody, and to be able to track 8 billion people at once and see all possibilities of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and basically all this stuff you see in the movies, which they talk about, the elites talk about it, it's going to take something that has a lot more power. Okay. But anyway, it says, today, as other nations move quickly to challenge American leadership, the United States must take a cohesive whole of government approach to accelerate deployment and commercialization of quantum computing, sensing, and networking. Yeah. So now they want to actually bring it out and put it everywhere, so it becomes something that everybody has access to, like this AI chat GPT. There was a time when you didn't have access to it. There was a time when AI was just a theory. Okay, I remember when quantum was just a theory. Quantum computing was just a theory. I remember when they had a quantum computer that barely worked properly, but they had to cool it to like negative 200 degrees and it would barely work, but it had a lot of promises. It showed a lot of promising potential. Okay, well, now we're to the point where it's becoming practical. Okay, it says, in addition to continuing trailblazing quantum research, we must act to solidify the nation's position as the world's QUIST superpower and deliver the commercial and research benefits of quantum innovation to the American people. Equally important, we must protect sensitive technologies and work with allies to ensure adversaries cannot use QUIST to undermine national security. Yeah, because they're also going to use this in war, which I went into earlier in Section 5. It says deploying quantum-enabled sensors and networks within 60 days of the date of this order. The Secretary of War shall identify at least 3 next-generation quantum sensor projects to prioritize in order to field these sensors by September 30th, 2028. So he's giving them goals already. Hey, go ahead and find 3 projects to use this quantum on. They're talking about sensors. Okay. Which I had a little conversation with the Google AI overview. It says what quantum sensors will do. Navigate without GPS. All right. They measure gravity and magnetic fields with extreme precision to map a vehicle's exact position. This allows submarines, planes, and missiles to navigate perfectly, even if an enemy jams or cuts off GPS satellite signals. Detect hidden threats. They censor microscopic changes in magnetic fields or gravity. This helps troops find buried underground bunkers, hidden naval mines, or camouflaged submarines deep underwater. that standard radar cannot see. Hey, like the scripture says, man, he wants to be as the Most High. You know, he can see through the rocks and see what's down there. You know, he can navigate without GPS. He wants to be like the Most High, man. What does the scripture say? The eyes of the Lord are in every place, right? So Esau wants his eyes in every place, okay, because he wants to be as the Most High, all right? But the Lord is not going to allow him to achieve his enterprise to the fullest extent, all right? As soon as this devil puts a chip in everybody, all right, Yahweh Shai is going to be on his way. Okay, but it says decode enemy signals. They intercept and measure extremely faint radio and electronic signals. This gives troops an advantage in electronic warfare by picking up enemy communications from much further away. All right, look at this. Instant data filtering, flawless machine learning, simulating better materials, right? They could run simulations, millions of simulations at once to find what material would be better if it got hit by this or if it got hit by that. So you can imagine there's going to be, it's like the fourth industrial revolution with AI. It's going to go to even higher level, man, because they're going to be able to invent things a lot faster. And what does this all mean, man? What does this acceleration all mean? That's the whole point of this video, is showing you the acceleration of technology. Well, what does that mean? Okay, that means we're going to head much closer to the end much faster than we thought, man. All right, let's get this real quick. This is Romans 13:11. It says, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believed. Okay, because the MOTB, okay, we knew for a long time that it was the chip, but the infrastructure wasn't there yet. The computing power just wasn't there yet. Well, now with AI, data centers, and quantum computing, it's a wrap, man. They have all they need. All they need to do is basically set up a few more of these data centers, okay, and start implementing this quantum stuff, okay, and they can make that ultimatum any day, man. We've always told you it's just an announcement, man. Because once they make that announcement, okay, they're going to rapidly force a lot of you people out there or coerce a lot of you people out there into taking it, into taking that chip. But getting back to this conversation here, that's pretty much it, all I wanted to go to on that. I want to grab another conversation I had with ChatGPT, man, just asking it to summarize section 1, you know, just so I can kind of study it faster. And then getting back into it, I asked it a question. So I said, you know, just based off the discussion and things I've researched, I said, due to quantum computing's ability to quickly process massive amounts of data, will quantum computing likely be used to process data for flock cameras and other surveillance systems? ChatGPT says, yes, it is plausible that future quantum computers could be used to analyze data collected by surveillance systems, including automated license plate readers such as those made by Flock Safety, but there are important caveats. What quantum computers would be good at? Quantum computers are not simply faster computers for every task. They appear most promising for specific problems such as optimization, finding patterns in huge data sets, man. What were those flock cameras doing, man? All right, taking pictures and storing information of millions of people in databases, right? You have ICE out there. ICE has been out there using AI in order to find quote-unquote migrants, right? So that's what this is, man. It's going to make everything way faster, lightning speed, man. All right, they're not going to have a problem finding out if, if somebody, committed a crime or did this or did that. You know, the system's not going to be overwhelmed, okay, because it's going to be able to see all the possibilities at once, you know, for lack of a better term, in the system, and it's going to be able to write up your ticket. It's going to be able to lower your credit score. It's going to be able to accuse you, and you're gonna get in trouble. Okay, that's the new system that they're setting up. Okay, a surveillance state with a social credit score system. Okay, with the ability to cause you to die if you do not want to be a part of this system or worship the beast. By submitting to the system and following the ways they set up. Now they have cash. You can do things under the table. You can get away if you're fast enough. You have a fast car. You can get away from the police or whatever. Okay, but with surveillance everywhere, your car being connected to the grid, you get into a high-speed chase, that car will take 1,000 pictures of you. All right, you're already fucked. You can't get away. Right? They talked about how they're going to set up cars so they have a kill switch on them. If you look drunk or dangerous while you're behind the wheel, they'll just turn off your car. Okay, to be able to do that in real time, they need a powerful system. And this is what this is, man. It's going to be able to look at everybody at once. Okay? It says certain machine learning applications, network analysis, cryptography and code breaking, complex simulations, right? And that's where that Mercy movie that I mentioned, that's predictive programming for what they're planning to do. They're going to have AI judges, or they plan to have AI judges, man. If the Lord lets them get that far, they plan to have AI judges, man, to where, they don't need a whole lot of information. The AI is just going to collect what it thinks is necessary, and it's going to judge you based on that. But remember, the spirit of Esau is in these computers, man, because he gets to program them how he wants. And he gets to put that bias in that computer to fuck up Jake more. So it's going to be the same thing you see now. Jake filling up the prisons. Hey, that's the same world they want, with these AI judges that they're going to create in the future, if the Lord lets them get that far. It says if quantum computing matures substantially, agencies or companies could potentially use it to search enormous databases more efficiently, identify relationships among millions or billions of records. Right, so they can control, okay, they saw your license plate with another person's license plate. The system will instantly grab those two records and be like, okay, that's connected to this person. Okay, so now they know you were hanging out with your cousin. Then they're going to look at what your cousin was doing, what phone calls your cousin was in, this and that. It's going to do a deep, diligent search on both of you, man. You're not going to be able to escape in this new system. Okay, because it has the power to do it now. See, the Lord has given Esau the ability to do these things. Okay. It says analyze movement patterns across large geographic areas, detect unusual behavior within massive streams of sensor data. Right, that's for that war. These different quantum sensors, they'll be able to use GPS, or not GPS, they'll navigate without GPS wherever they are. You could be in the ocean, right? You could be in the middle of nowhere. It says correlate data from multiple sources. Look what I just said. License plates, cameras, cell phone data, financial records, etc. Hey, that's the spirit, man. I don't even remember reading that, but hey, that's like I just said, man. Everything that has your name on it in the grid, in any database, they'll be able to make all those connections instantly, man. You see? And that's pretty much all I want to grab on that, man. So with that, I want to grab a few precepts. This is Revelation 13:15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And the image of the beast is this system. I mean, you don't worship it by not complying. Okay, so if you don't comply, they cause you to be killed. Because when that social credit score system is set up, okay, that quantum AI is going to be able to know exactly where you at and what you're doing, and you're not going to be able to just jaywalk. You're not going to be able to, do anything really. I'm at a loss for words now, but just anything that, they say you can't do and you do it, best believe they're going to know about it. Okay, you start saying things on social media, how you're against the government, boom, they're going to take it off your credit score. You're going to die. You're not going to be able to buy food. You're not going to be able to leave your 15-minute city, so on and so forth. All right. Verse 16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That's the RFID chip and the brain computer interface. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay, you're not going to be able to buy or sell without that chip. So it's going to cause you to die, like it says in verse 15. All right, but we know that the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to protect us in that time of famine, in that time of trouble. Okay, when they come after us, when they mandate the chip, right? Because this chip mandation is going to happen during Jacob's trouble. But the Lord is going to protect his men and his women. Okay? This is Psalm 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? Right? That's what they're doing. By setting up these executive orders, man. They framing mischief into law, wickedness into law, because they're not using this quantum for anything good, man. You know, they're using it for war. They're using it to compete and ultimately to set up the chip system, man. So they could chip everybody up and force them to worship this image of this beast. All right. Instead of worshiping Yahweh Bashim Shai, they want everybody to worship this image, man. And submit themselves to this wicked ass order, this wicked ass system. All right. It says they gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood, man. Yeah. They're going to condemn the elect when we, Lord's will be the elect. Hey, when we choose not to take this chip, they're going to deem us to be terrorists or criminals or, you know, a danger to society, man. You saw a glimpse of that during C-19 when they try to get everybody to take that jump shot. And they said those people that don't take the jump shot, they're the reason why this illness is spreading. It's their fault. It's like, motherfucker, if the jump shot works, then don't worry about me for not taking it. You see, but people didn't, you know, they had their head up their ass, you know, and it's these same people that are likely going to take the chip, man, unless they repent of you know, of being wicked, man, because you're not supposed to take that any jump shots or chips, you know, anything inserted in your body, man, but especially that chip. Okay, if you receive that chip, you will not receive salvation, man. So we warn Jake, it's time to wake up, man. That chip is coming at lightning speed. Okay? It says, Micah 2 and 10, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. You know, and that's Esau, man. You know, they think about evil while they're sleeping in bed. They're already planning what wickedness they're going to do the next day. Oh, well, let's create data center here. Let's tear down these trees over here. Well, let's put this into law and use it to trick the people and you know, keep these jakes down so they don't gain any power in this system and, you know, this and that. They think about that at night, right? They go to bed, they wake up, and then they put it into practice. Why? Because they can, because they're in rulership. So they don't use their rulership for righteousness, so the Lord is going to destroy it. Okay? And this chip being mandated, right? And all these things leading to that point shows us where we are in biblical prophecy, right? That's why the scripture says, watch and pray. That's why the scripture says, look at the parable of, or hear the parable of the fig tree, man. Real quick, let's get that. You know, we can't just read the Bible. You know, the brothers were going over it in Kent. You can't just read the Bible like a feel-good novel or a book. It's not about just feeling good. You got to follow the instructions. All right, Matthew 24:32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know this summer is nigh. Right, so when the leaves are coming out of this tree and his branches are tender, you know that summer is near. Right, because you saw the sign of the tree. Verse 33, so likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors, right? We're seeing all these prophecies, wars, rumors of wars, you know, the chip about to be mandated. So pay attention, man. It's not going to be 1,000 years. We're going to see Yahushua in our lifetime. Okay? Likely within the next few years. Lord's will, it don't take more than a couple years, man, but You know, if it draws out, it ain't gonna be no 1,000 years, man. It's gonna be very soon, man. All right. We could see the MOTB mandated. Let's see, it's June. We could see the MOTB mandated within months. Okay. But anyway, Psalm 64, starting at verse 4, it says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune in laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Right? And this whole system is a snare to Jake. Okay, imagine how much more Jake would be taken advantage of in this new system with AI everywhere and computers, quantum computing, controlling these flock cameras and, you know, your car and your cell phone. You got cameras on your cell phone for a reason, right? This surveillance state was set up under everybody's noses, man. People are saying, oh, well, they're already watching us. Yeah, but not on a high level. It's going to keep accelerating and get to a higher level. Eventually, the cell phone's going to be inside you. Like the CEO of Nokia said. He said eventually these things will be built directly into our bodies. Right? So they're letting you know what they're doing, man. And it's all according to biblical prophecy because the Lord is the one who's making them do it. All right, verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They communicate in snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Right? A diligent search, man. Okay, they're using AI to help them figure out how to make better AI. You know, they're going into every rabbit hole they can to, you know, continue to oppress Jake and build their enterprise and try to achieve their hopes and their dreams. They've got wickedness down to a science. That's why I said in Micah 2, you know, that they think about it all the day long, man. Or they think about it at night and then they wake up and put it into practice. Okay? So, you know, these things have been premeditated, man. Okay? So, you know, all the scriptures connect when it tells us that, you know, the wicked will be ruling in these last days, but it's in this time that we're going to receive our salvation, man. You know, like it says in the scriptures, you know, this is the time of Jacob's trouble, okay, but he shall be saved out of it. Because this mandating of the chip is going to happen in Jacob's trouble, man. And they are fast tracking this, man. They are accelerating this, man. All right, as these wars continue, okay, as these data centers continue to get built, okay, we are one major either pandemic or emergency situation away from them making this announcement that, hey, this chip has to be mandated for buying and selling. All right, and Lord's will, it be happening sooner rather than later, Akim. So yeah, just, hey, keep watching under prayer, Akim. I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful elect that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom wa abababal. Shalom.